yeah, my thoughts on the final episodes of season 7 of Vampire Diaries are, I don't know what happened at all. I watched them.
Yeah.
So I don't have a lot of other outside news to talk about. I guess they added a third day to the When We Were Young festival. Same lineup.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Still going to be a mess on that front. But
for sure.
3 days of mess is better than 1 day of mess.
Yeah, seriously. Oh, man.
And someone on TikTok pointed out that if you want to go to the We Were Young Fest, just go to Riot Fest in Chicago.
Oh, okay.
Which has the same lineup, only it's competently organized.
Excellent. That's good. That's better.
So it has 3 days of different lineups versus 3 days of the same lineup.
Yeah, what the heck? That's kind of awkward. I mean, well, I don't know. It's just the whole thing is very awkward.
Also, it's just a dreary day here, so I'm feeling very low energy.
Yeah, man. It's like rain and then mix, and then it said it was snowing, which is not true. It's still raining, so AccuWeather's all jacked up and confused. But yeah,
You're going to be getting an ice storm, and I only wish we could get an ice storm.
Ice storm. That means that it's raining, and then it'll be cold, and it'll be ice, and then it will snow overnight on top of the ice to make it extra dangerous.
Like David always yells at me, like, you know how devastating it would be to get an inch of ice over everything, right? And I'm like, yeah, I know, but I don't want to go to work.
Yeah, it's like I want a day off to be like all like cozy and like, you know, stuck inside the house. So you're forced to just like chill
and no power. So I'm forced to actually read.
Right, exactly. Isn't that funny that like we kind of wish those things would happen, like a fantasy to make us do stuff, not looking at a screen. Yeah, that's cool. I feel the same way.
But yeah, next week, because it is February, I don't know if it'll line up exactly with Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
But we will be reviewing the final installment of the 50 Shades of Grey trilogy.
Oh, I can't wait. And after this meeting, you and I are going to have to collab on a date to watch it on Discord.
Yeah.
Unless it's streaming.
That's a good question. Last time we tried to do this, none of them were streaming. So
yeah, shit.
Let me check on 50 Shades Freed. It is available on Peacock.
Excellent. So I will just log back in using your information.
Sounds great. I can't wait for this to be over.
I know, right? Jesus. It's been 3 years of this, please.
So I saw Jamie Dornan, who plays 50 Shades Grey.
Mr. 50.
Mr. 50. And I saw him in Barb and Star Visit Vista Del Mar. And he's like actually really funny and actually really talented. And I hate that he's trapped with this character. It's the same way I feel about Rob Pattinson and Kirsten Stewart, because even if they're super talented, they're always going to be punished for Twilight and 50 Shades of Grey. Like,
right.
Kirsten Stewart is being snubbed at all the award shows right now. There is no reason she should not be nominated for playing Princess Diana in Spencer. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure they're punishing her for doing Twilight, because you can't nominate the Twilight actress for an Oscar. That's just stupid.
But that's stupid because first of all, it's not her fault, and second of all, if Twilight didn't exist, that would suck. So like,
yeah,
they need to just stop acting like this. Stop.
Listen, if we were all in that position, she and Rob are still making fucking bank off those movies.
Oh, yeah. And they will forever. Oh, my God. Those movies are just, they're just legendary.
There's nothing more frustrating than looking at the comments on anything for The Batman, which comes out next month, I think. Yes. Which looks incredible.
It does.
But there's always that one person who's like, isn't that the Twilight guy?
And you should be like, no, what do you mean? What's Twilight? Like, it's stupid. Just stop.
Like, I feel like for Rob, he's finally starting to break out of the Twilight guy thing, because he was nominated for a Spirit Award a couple years ago for The Lighthouse.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
It's going to be impossible to break out of those roles.
It is, and it also makes me frustrated when there are still like those, men usually who are like, "Oh, that's the Twilight guy," and it's like, so you're still thinking about Twilight, right? Like you're still thinking about that. Like, stop. You don't have to. Oh my goodness. So, yeah, the Batman looks really cool, and it's gonna be really a long movie, right? Which
I think it's
fantastic.
just under 3 hours.
Nice. I'm here for it. That's the kind of movie I want.
Yeah, like, it feels like we're gonna get a classic detective Batman.
That'll be nice because it'll be different, a little different. So I like it.
But speaking of bats, let's get into the Vampire Diaries.
Speaking of detective work, let's talk about season 7.
So I think season 7's biggest failing is it tried to do something different with the non-linear timeline in telling its story.
Yeah.
It didn't work because I watched the show I've been transparent about it. I watched the show at 1.25 speed to get through the episodes faster. Because they just talk so slow.
Yes.
And it's fine while they're talking. Sometimes it's a little silly when they're dancing or fighting, but when they're talking, it's necessary.
Yes.
But because of that, it was really hard to keep up with 3 years from now, 2 years ago, 1 year ago.
Yeah, and like today, and it's like, okay.
And it just, I think they did it to avoid the gap left by Elena.
Yeah, definitely.
And she's still there in spirit. We thought Damon might have killed her in the last Minishow, but he did not. She's safe and sound. And the reason there's a 3-year time jump is because Damon's depressed and feels lost without Elena. So he's like, I'm gonna just go lay in a coffin until Bonnie dies. It's until Elena wakes up, but the kicker is she won't wake up until Bonnie dies.
Yeah, and we're always assuming, it's so funny where they're like stuck at that 60-year, like Bonnie will die in exactly 60 years of like natural causes. I found myself actually this half of it, because they kind of like caught up to the 3-year mark. At times I was getting confused because I was like, wait, are we still doing that time jump again?
Yeah.
Is this present day like present day, or is this present day like 3 years later present day? So I kind of found myself like getting pretty confused at times.
Yeah, I think I would have just done the heretic plot and then just a straight time jump. I wouldn't have continued time jumping through the entire series.
Yeah, that was a lot.
Because I was trying to keep up with what happened to Matt's girlfriend / fiance, and Matt has every reason to hate vampires and mystical creatures because they keep fucking up his life.
I agree. I think so too. But you know what? They waited way too long to like let us know what happened with his fiance, because by the time he went to her like gravestone, I had forgotten her name. And by the time they brought her up again, I had forgotten that she had been killed or died. And I was like, what? You know what I mean?
What's happening?
There wasn't enough time.
And then the Bonnie and Enzo love story felt kind of diminished because of the back and forth. It is weird. I have a feeling they're setting him up to be like her endgame true love in the show, but obviously that should be Jeremy.
Yeah, and like, but then I thought they were trying to make it be Damon because they were stuck in that weird, like, in between. Yeah.
Damon and Bonnie have really great chemistry, and I would love to see them as a couple. And apparently in the book series, they are endgame. They do end up together.
Got it. Excellent. In the books, is this like a spoiler? Who does Stefan end up with? Because he got with his like ex-girlfriend from way long ago that we didn't even know existed.
Yeah, they hooked up a bit, but he ends up with Caroline at the end of this season. But if you want the book spoilers,
you have to like text it to me or something.
Okay, I'll go ahead and text you the book spoilers.
Yes, but yeah, she ends up with Stefan. But I also want to talk about how that's awkward only because she like she was gonna like marry Alaric.
And that's uncomfortable.
It was a lot.
It's uncomfortable, but it does make sense given the situation.
Yes, very awkward situation.
They're raising kids together, so it makes sense that feelings would develop, but the feelings are very one-sided.
They really are, because Alaric's like, I fell in love with you. And she's like, yeah, that's nice. I'm just like, what the fuck, Caroline? Like, do you like him? So, yeah.
Which I wouldn't hate if like they were endgame. It would be weird and creepy, but it logically makes sense to me because they have children together technically.
Right.
But at the same time, he's like 15 years older than her and was her high school teacher.
I know. It's just, I mean, like, it's awkward only because the first time she knew him, their roles were student teacher, and that always is like toxic. That's like messed up and kind of weird and very creepy. So I can't stop seeing them like that.
That's a weird thing that keeps happening in teen dramas, from what I understand. Luckily, my favorite tried and true, The OC, never went that route. But I think Riverdale had a student teacher plot. Pretty Little Liars infamously had one. It's just a thing people like to romanticize for some reason. Yeah. Like they're not deep enough to go into the actual grooming and abuse of these relationships. Not that I'm saying that about Alaric. I think Alaric, he's probably my favorite character on the show.
Yes, he is great. Yeah.
And he didn't like groom her as a student. She just happened to get implanted with his children, and then they started raising the children together.
Yeah, because she just fell in love with being a mom, and like, you never know when that's going to happen when you're pregnant. So, that was very like, he is not creepy and he's not like abusive to her. He shows that at the end there when she hugs Stefan one time, and he's like, oh, I guess you still love him, so we don't have to get married. And I'm like, okay, well, you could have a talk about this first, Alaric, but he really was just like, oh, you hugged him once, so just like go be with him and don't come back to the kids. It's fine. And I was like, what the fuck?
Nobody likes a quitter, Alaric.
It was very jarring, that transition, but I was like, oh, okay, so I guess Caroline's back with Stefan, which is fine. But not really.
Fine. It's all fine.
Oh, God.
Speaking of fine, Klaus made an appearance.
I know.
And I was very happy.
Me too. And I was like, okay, is Klaus finally going to be with Caroline? Because they should be together, in my opinion.
Yeah, no doubt in my mind. Caroline and Klaus should be endgame. Also, I think we got a bit of a spoiler for the originals if we ever want to delve into the originals. Klaus apparently has a child.
Yes, and I accidentally spoiled that.
Yeah.
Well, I guess not really, because we know who gets pregnant with him. And it's that werewolf girl who's like super pretty, and she's like with Tyler that one season. I don't even know what season it was now. I don't even know how that happened with them, but yeah, she's like, hey, I'm pregnant, Klaus. So she is like a showrun. She's like a constant character in the originals. And I think we should just watch it, because like, why stop now? If you want. But I think
I'm totally down with it.
Try it.
I wonder though, because there is crossover, the originals and Vampire Diaries were playing at the same time. So there probably is like crossover, with how you could theoretically watch the episodes.
Oh, okay.
Like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel. Fans have assembled like the proper watch list if you wanted to watch them in unison.
Interesting. Okay, so that like the correct order of things to watch, like
Buffy season 1 through 4, and then you watch Angel season 1 and go like that.
Oh, I get what you're saying. Okay, so interesting. So at least I'll be able to like double back and see. I'll probably remember, since we just watched it with like, we watched the whole series basically with no breaks, no big breaks in between seasons. So I think it'll be pretty fresh in our minds, but I think we should go for it.
Yeah,
but we can't go for it until after you finish season 8. And did you notice that season 8 is much shorter than all the other seasons.
I did not, but I'm not surprised. That seems to happen a lot with the final seasons of shows.
Yeah, it's like half the episodes of the other season, which are like 22, which is a lot, but
excellent.
We'll finish it. Yeah, we'll finish it pretty quickly, but I still think we should like split it half.
I'm fine with that. There's probably going to be a lot to talk about with the final season.
Right. Yes. I hope that there's a lot to talk about. And I also hope that they don't rush it. So there's plot holes that are awkward, because a lot of like final seasons can be guilty of doing stuff like that, just to like rush things along. I hope they don't do that.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We shall see.
We shall see.
Yeah, man. So anyway, recap of season 7 is absurd. Do you want to do a recap?
We haven't even touched on the Huntress, because I don't fucking get the Huntress. That was such a weird plot, because we had vampire hunters already earlier in the series with Jeremy becoming one. Right. So I guess these are a different brand of vampire hunters that can't be stopped the same way.
Yeah, they have like multiple lives, I guess.
And then Bonnie becomes one and almost kills Enzo, but Damon stops her in time by burning the body of the original hunter or whatever.
Is that what happened? Because I like scrolled on my phone for a while and I like missed a really important detail, and I was like, oh, why did burning that person help? I think so. Oh well.
But Bonnie was just like a huntress for a single episode. It's like they didn't know how to wrap up a big bad for this season. And that's the problem with 22 episode seasons, is
it's a lot.
There's a lot to fill. And honestly, the heretics should have been the problem for the whole season, because Lily was like the big ultimate bad. And then there was Lily's boyfriend, who was the big bad.
Yeah, Julian. Yeah.
And they were so much more interesting.
They were. You know what? They really were, because the Huntress had like no personality. She was like very old because she had like 8 lives. She was like the best vampire hunter, and whenever she stabs you, she marks you for life, and that means that she'll chase you forever until she catches you. It's just this absurd business of like running or like driving away fast in your car, like for 10 episodes.
Or the rest of your life.
But like apparently the stakes were extremely high, because like when that happened, people like freaked out, hopped on planes, Stefan driving around real fast across the country, all these things. Caroline up and left her family because it was safer to run. But then at the end of the day, the Huntress was like, yeah, I'm going crazy now because of, I can't even like describe what even happens, because it's a lot to discuss. But the Spark Notes version is she kind of like wants to end her hunting and finally like die, because she's outlived her life. And she like grants her last life onto Bonnie, but there's a catch. Bonnie is going to forever be a huntress and hate vampires, and that's why she like almost kills Enzo and all this craziness. But luckily Damon saves the day just in time, and then everybody's happy, and then it's the end of the season, and then Alarc's like, although I'm in love with you, Caroline, that's okay, I'm just gonna be alone. And I felt really bad for him, because everybody that he loves dies and stuff, and it's just it's like bittersweet. I don't know, it's just very strange. But we're ready to start season 8. I can't wait to see what happens.
Yeah, we've got an evil Damon again and an evil Enzo.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That's right. Yes, because when Damon went into what's called the vault, owned by what's called the armory, don't ask, they just are, and he killed the corpse and set it on fire. When you go in there, the vault contains some type of mystical energy that just makes you homicidal, right? Mm-hmm. And so him and Enzo went in there and they became infected with this vibe, and now they're like on a crazy killing spree where all they do is kill people and hang them upside down by hooks. So we'll see about that. I'm sure we'll find a solution.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're not excited to watch now, get excited. Like you should be pretty excited to watch Vampire Diaries now, you guys. Seriously. You must. It's great. It's great.
So I guess for the next minisode, we will watch episodes 1 through 8.
Yeah, is that that's halfway?
That's halfway.
Okay, fabulous. I will absolutely do that. And for the next that'll be for the next minisode. But guys, if you want to keep up with what we're doing for our next episode, watch 50 Shades Freed, the third installment.
I wonder if freed means she's finally gonna leave him.
Isn't freed when they get married?
Yeah.
So it's like the opposite.
Yeah.
The ball and chain is finally going to be attached to your ankle. So we'll see. Sam and I will probably have a really long discussion about why the title is incorrect.
Right.
It should be 50 Shades Imprisoned by Mr. 50. So I'm loving this new Mr. 50. That's a great name for him. So, all right, you guys. I don't think I have anything else other than, be safe out there in this crazy ice storm if you're in our area, although it's going to be not happening when you listen to this episode.
We hope you were safe during the ice storm.
That's what I'm trying to say. Thank you, Sam.
Keep your wits about you.
But yeah, go watch all the 50 Shades. Yeah, keep your wits about you. Watch all the 50 Shades movies. Listen to our 2 previous Valentine's Day episodes to catch up. So we're all going to be on the same page, but it's time for our final installment of the 50 Shades Valentine's Day special. And after we do that, Sam, what are we going to do for Valentine's Day? We need to find something else to watch on that special day.
I don't know. I've already been thinking about what are we going to do with our lives after this?
What are we going to do with our lives after we're done slaving over watching 50 Shades?
I mean, I'm sure there's a plethora of 50 Shades ripoffs that we could
I hope
venture
there
into.
Are, and I know you'll find them if they exist, and I'm sure they do. All right, well, that's all I have for today. And guess what? No end notes. So everybody, will see you next time on the regular episode.
Bye.
All right, bye-bye.
And there's a creepy dog that always follows me.